about to go down.
You saw it already, but now.
And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the World of Gray podcast. In a society divided by black and white arguments, we are here to explore
The world of gray.
I am Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid, Colin Cutler.
I am the Flow, Mike Chisholm. And Colin, I am so happy to be doing this with you after a weekend of seeing quite a bit of you. I didn't see you last night, but I did see you on Friday night. I saw you perform, and then we hung out. And
We did.
We hung out with friends, and that was a very good time.
Yeah, we were at the East Kelowna Hall for Big West Wrestling. It's my first match back in like 6 months or something like that.
You're tuning up, aren't you?
I'm tuning up the band.
What are you tuning up the band for?
Tuning up the band for September 13th. Big West Wrestling is bringing Al Snow to the Rutland Centennial Hall as he teams with the Northern Nightmare Camaro Cope to face Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid, Colin Cutler, and Matt Ecstatic.
Big Brother Canada winner Dame Rupert going to be there.
Oh, you better stay out of my way. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, in association with World Financial Group. No, with Invasion Championship Wrestling. That's who it was.
We have this really nice conversation and podcast. He goes and has beers with us.
Yeah.
And now he's like invading my territory. What the hell is this?
Who's doing that?
Dane.
Yeah, Dane.
Big Brother guy thinks he can just go wherever he wants.
He thinks he can wrestle. He's pretty jacked.
What?
Have you seen him?
Yeah, I know he's jacked.
He's pretty tough.
He can learn to wrestle, whatever, and come back, but don't be coming on to my shows.
I don't know.
I'm just saying we're gonna be in the same arena.
Lots more will unfold in the next couple of weeks as
Dane
to
Rupert, you
September
better
13th.
watch it.
However, you can get tickets online now. If you have to search around a little bit for the Eventbrite, if you look at my Facebook, you should be able to find the Eventbrite. Get your tickets now. It's going to be broadcast and promoted a little bit further over the next few weeks. But if you want to be one of the first to get tickets, Al Snow, Dane Rupert.
I feel like you had something to do with me having to face Al Snow. I feel like you helped make that match. But I know Marty announced it, but I feel like a big reason why I'm gonna get my ass kicked by Al Snow is because you. But I guess I shouldn't blame other people for my own problems. And that's what we're talking about here.
Your feelings are accurate. Of course, I had something to do
on
with
the
it.
World of Gray podcast. Yeah. So, Mike Chisholm,
yes.
when I talk about shame and blame, what is the first thing that kind of comes to mind with you, and how does that relate to you and your team and your culture of your team at World Financial Group?
Okay, well, I got two questions. I got two comments on that. When I hear shame and blame, the first thing that I think of is women and sex. That's the first thing I think of when I hear shame and blame. That's the first thing I hear about in this day and age, because there are so many times that people are being made to feel bad for actions that they have done, and it happens so often with women, and I hate that.
So, are you talking about, let's say, as an example, a man can go out and be single and be a player and sow his wild oats, and that's fine.
Less than he used to be able to, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. But if a woman wants to explore her sexuality, she has to feel bad about that.
I'm saying there are some circles that would ostracize her for doing that.
Right.
There are some circles who would delight in pouncing upon that, calling that weakness, calling that behavior, just something to stop her forward momentum in her life.
You know what I call those people?
Her. What do you call those people?
People that need to get laid. That's what I call those people.
Maybe some of those people are like those people. That's the first thing I think of when I think of shaming.
Yeah.
And to me, I see it happen to people around me, and it just, man, it sucks that we have this culture that sometimes can feel justified in saying one thing is fine, but another thing is not fine, and they are now going to there's some hypocrisy in that, and social media has only inflamed the problem, because now that's where it's a new version of bullying. People looking for something that they can get a hold of to bully that person or make them feel bad, and shame, I think, is a primary tool of that.
What do you think the underlying reason for these people shaming these individuals are?
It's a great question. I think it's inadequacy, probably.
Insecurity.
Yeah, I mean, somebody sees somebody doing something that they would like to do, or they aspire to, or it's something that sparks jealousy, and so they want to tear that person down. But at the end of the day, I think many times those feelings are coming from somewhere within.
Yeah,
I think that's the case.
I just also, sorry, this is so off topic.
All right.
But if you're watching this and it looks like I'm not paying attention to Mike, it's because 9 times out of 10, I'm actually watching the screen playback,
Right.
and I'm like looking you in the eyes here so I can also see the comments. I was watching one of the videos and I was like, it looks like I'm not paying attention to you, but I'm like very intently.
You're looking into my video eyes.
Yeah, I'm like very intently paying attention.
Can you imagine if we did the podcast like this, where we're just looking into each other's
Well,
eyes the
sometimes
entire
I do
time?
when you're on like a really good point and like flow. Then
Yeah, but that
like,
doesn't
I
happen very often.
turn.
I'm not usually on very good points, but I'm just saying if we could actually like do an entire podcast staring
And
at each
not
other with
look
microphones,
at the
yeah, and not
comment.
look at anything except into each other's eyes.
So we're
I
talking
think
about
within 3 minutes, I think we would go insane.
Steve Biggs has joined us. We're talking about different forms of shame, and this is so prevalent now, especially like you're saying with social media. So if you have any stories or comments or examples of this, that's the same thing. I said the same thing twice.
Sometimes we do that because we're trying to formulate the next
That's
thoughts,
exactly
and so
that's actually apparently what unintelligent people do. So that's great. Trump does it a lot.
Does he?
I had this whole
I
bit
do
with
that
one of my
sometimes.
staff where I was like, Trump can talk about two things, but make a whole paragraph. Like, we went to Japan. We met with the president of Japan. It was a great trip when we went to Japan. It was amazing trip.
Yeah.
The president of Japan loves Trump. He's a big Trump fan there in Japan where we just went, where we had this great trip, one of the greatest trips in the history of trips of presidents that have ever went and met together. Like I met on a trip to Japan with the Japanese president who loves Trump. He's a huge Trump fan, huge Trump supporter. He tells me all the time. He told me when we went on our trip to Japan.
You know what? Trump's one of those guys.
Trump's one of those guys who he doesn't.
David
get
Bickler is
ashamed.
joined us.
At least publicly, he doesn't. Like, there's a guy, and I mean, if you want to talk about shame and how to go, what the reverse of shame is, it's not giving. It's not giving a fuck.
Right.
Like that's really the reverse. The like the guy could absolutely do anything, and from an outward appearance, make it look like he doesn't care at all. However, I think we all know that he deeply does care when people say things, and that's why he comes out and attacks.
And he does blame, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? So a lot of times there's a natural response when we feel like we're under attack to then just pass what we've done and skip over accountability and just go right to blaming someone or something else. I used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
I always blame the world for everything.
I feel like I do that sometimes still.
We all do it, right? But it's the difference between feeling shame and then going, okay, like that sucks, because you're gonna feel shame when you do something wrong. Okay, well, I feel shame. Why do I feel shame? Well, because I did X, Y, and Z.
Right.
All right, I did that. My bad. I'm gonna fix it. Or I need to ask for help because I don't know how to fix it.
Yes.
Right? Instead of automatically placing blame. Because here's the thing. Work is the best example in all of this, right? If someone is doing something wrong at work and all the rest of us call that person out, or say two people, right? Two people are making the same mistakes.
Right.
We could call them out by name with that mistake, and then we could all discuss what they are doing wrong and how they should do it right. Or we can just discuss what the right protocol is without ever mentioning people, without ever blaming, without ever shaming anyone. Because what's going to happen if I make you feel ashamed about making a mistake? What are you going to do the next time you make a mistake? Are you going to tell me you made a mistake?
No, that's exactly it. I'm going to want to cover it up. I'm going to want to, well, you know what? Even if you make that mistake and you're able to correct it without you having to find out about it, it's like, oh, I made that mistake again. But guess what? That seed of shame is going to show up again.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not empowerment. It's the opposite of it. I think shame is the opposite of empowerment. And it's an unfortunate weapon that gets used many times. I think about my granddaughter right now, and sometimes her mom will have to get a little firm, not with her hand, but with her,
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Sometimes she's got to go and lay the law down for little 18-month-old or 15-month-old Alara.
Verbally.
Sometimes she'll have to say, Alara, stop that. And then Alara will look, and then she'll get that little frown on her face, like she's ashamed. She's ashamed for being called out on things. And I think that if not, just like she has the happiness that a baby has and an anger that the baby has or whatever. And as she grows up, she will learn to temper those emotions. And I think anytime that we can learn to temper an emotion, whatever emotion it might be, I mean, it could be happiness, right? Sometimes people get happiness, but they get it through destructive means or whatever. You temper that happiness. Anger, same deal. You temper it. You learn how to forge it and use it and have a healthy relationship with it. Shame is the same thing. However, I think it's one of those things where we haven't done a good job of learning the skills to temper that particular one, and it's used more often as a weapon than a natural learning tool.
Yeah, I really like the example of your granddaughter. That's like, can we stay on that thought process for a second? So you're right, kids, we kind of instill it, right? That shame of, oh, I did something wrong. Do you feel like there is maybe an extra step that can be thrown in when you have to do the, hey, don't do that? Like, because I don't have kids, obviously. I've never raised a child. I just yell at the dogs and I can't like negotiate with the dogs afterwards. But can you sit the child down after they've had time to come down and just like explain why what they did was wrong and why we don't do that, and try to like build like the moral compass or something?
Well, there's that. And I think that stacks up towards exactly what we were talking about earlier, having a healthy relationship with a natural emotion that shows up. And I think that that's the way to do that. The inverse of that is using it as a weapon, in order to avoid certain things, or to make things simpler, or to make things whatever. Oh, I'm just going to shame that person so they don't do that anymore. That's a shortcut to me.
Yeah,
to me that's a shortcut.
It is. It's laziness.
It's
it's an easier way to go.
Inherently it's and then sometimes you can go that next step and it can be malicious. Right.
And Carrie's saying that this happens at her daughter's work, but it happens.
Bosses, it happens in workplaces all the time.
A lot, and
Absolutely.
it's a lack of leadership knowledge or leadership training. I not that I've always been an anti blaming people for things. I've always been, if you bring me a problem, bring me 3 solutions with it.
Yes.
Not to say that I don't do it too. On a management level, we were just in a meeting where there was like 3 of us different managers and supervisors in this one group fitness department.
Right.
And we literally fired off like 4 issues like back to back with no solutions. And Kelly, our GM's right in front of us, like, all right, so y'all just threw a lot of problems at me. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's reset. Let's think about what the solutions are to those problems. Let's stop just focusing on the problem.
Is the solution shame based? Like, can we shame some people and solve some problems here? Can we do that?
No.
Okay,
I think it's just in that whole realm, right? It's just only having problems. And then what we'll do, it's like, oh, well, here's an issue. And then we all start talking about what's going wrong. And then it's like, oh, well, now we're just worried about all this stuff that's wrong. So I don't want it to be about me. So I'm just going to reflect it to other people. Right. And really, like, all of that is so unproductive and doesn't actually solve anything. But to what you were saying, is it's so much easier to be like, hey, so, you did this. You really shouldn't do that. That was wrong. It's not how we do it. Or why would you do that? Why would you do it like that?
Yeah.
We showed you how to do that. Why are you doing that?
Are you stupid?
Yeah. Or it can get real bad, right?
Yeah. Or it can get awful.
The worst thing, and this is a culture thing, right? So these are one of those things that it starts to get toxic slowly.
Yeah.
Is when staff, like staff that are all on the same level, and things are going wrong, and maybe like the boss is sending reminder emails. Sometimes I'll, hey everyone, like try to be, hey everyone, just remember, like we got to do this, and then people start talking behind each other's back.
Yes.
Right. Well, he's talking about him. That's what him that's doing that.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
man.
Blah.
Shame and gossip are cousins that can go out and on the town, do a lot of damage.
Kelly Dodman has joined us. Candace Chisholm has joined us.
Yo, KD. Yo, CC.
It's just, and culture's like the underlined issue here with all of this, right? Especially if we're talking in the workplace. As soon as this starts being the model, the shaming people, the blaming people, the making feeling shame this like terrible thing. I've literally said it in an email to my GM. Like, I'd mess up, like, feeling a little shame right now.
Yeah.
This is what I did. Like, did not mean. The other thing that I really like, and this is from
by the way, I like that you do that, by the way.
Yeah.
I like that you say feeling a little shame right now. And that gives, I understand that you're kind of throwing a little hyperbole into it because you're publicly kind of acknowledging.
But I'm not.
But
you're
not.
Being
But
honest.
At the same time, you're not. And it does give the other party the ability to say to you, hey, don't feel ashamed. Just, don't do that anymore or whatever, right?
Your wife.
I know.
So funny.
I know. My wife, like many women, a complicated puzzle.
Women
worth
are
solving.
Complicated.
Worth solving. Worth trying to solve. But I think women are the puzzle that you never solve. I don't know what you think about that.
You don't want to.
Well, no, but you do want to. But it's like.
But you don't really. Mike Santiago has joined us. One of my favorite people ever.
Okay, but like, let's think about other puzzles that solve and that go on forever. But you still want to keep trying to solve them.
let's use the most basic Gen X example, Tetris. Tetris is a game where you can just keep going and going and going. It just keeps getting faster and faster and faster, but you keep wanting to solve it. You keep wanting to solve that, to get those lines, to clear those lines and solve things. I believe a woman is like that, except way more complex than Tetris.
All right, we are way off topic now.
Really?
So we're talking about shame.
I'm ashamed of that.
We're talking about
I feel a
shame
little
and
shame
blame.
here for going off topic. I feel
We're-
a little shame.
At the moment, we're talking about shame and blame in the workplace. See, we lost 3 people because he ranted about
I know.
puzzles.
I know.
We got one back. Talk about shame and blame in the workplace. If you have any examples of that, please lay it down. We don't have to just talk about the workplace. If you have any other examples, we can kind of
I think that's a
veer through it.
No. Okay,
But-
well, let's talk social structure and social media. I mean, you want to go into the clickbait stuff. I mean, you talk about people who are shaming each other all the time.
Mm.
People acting like teenagers many times. You see these Twitter wars. You see people on Instagram and Facebook and
Yeah.
shaming people, direct messages and all this
Yeah.
kind of crap.
Yeah,
Man, it's
we've
going,
all done it.
It's
And
turning
some
into this
and
thing.
sometimes we'll do it because we think we're doing good, right? Like I've been in political back and forth. I try really hard not to do it now, but I've gotten to some very toxic back and forth that at some point I have to know that they're not going anywhere. Like I'm not going to change this person's mind. I'm not going to like have them have this revelation. So then we're just calling each other stupid for having opposite opinions and like at one point it's like what are we even doing? Because really we're just trying to justify our own shit, right?
Yes.
Our own points of view, our own
Sure.
perspective. We're just trying to get them to concede just a little bit so that I can feel like what I think is right is actually right because we're deep down we're all really questioning ourselves
100%.
because none of us know what the fuck we're doing. And that it's true. And that's the one thing you learn as you get older and as you move up in like higher levels of management is just people just start admitting that no one feels like they know what they're doing. We
Yeah.
probably do to some degree. Like I'm sure I really do know what I'm sure I know more than I think I know, but I also don't know so many things, more things than I think I know.
Let's
right?
think about this. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this because I can, and you're a lot younger than me. I can
lot
still a lot
younger.
younger, clearly. I still can remember what it felt like. Like, at what point did you become an adult? Do you still feel like? Do you feel like you're an adult?
No.
I'm a large child, man. I say it
Yeah.
all the time. I'm a large child, but yet adult problems do show up. And if you were to ask any child who looked at me in my life, they'd say, "Oh yeah, clearly that's an adult right there."
But
And I'm like, all right, but there's no paper that I signed. There's no level that I crossed. There's no place that I, attained just other than years that have gone
Yeah.
by. Really.
other than you revolving around a fireball X amount of
Kinda.
times.
Yeah, kinda. Like, I mean, holy smokes. And
I-
that's actually a little bit scary because
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think that what you're talking about, though, that feeling like you're not an adult and you're still a child, goes hand in hand with the feeling of like shame or that imposter syndrome that we get when we get to certain levels where we have responsibilities or we have to like lead a team or whatever.
Yes.
Because as a child, that's exactly it. You really are learning and you're vulnerable all the time. And that's the other end of not even the other end, like right in there with shame. It's just
Yeah.
our vulnerability at all times and our unwanting to be vulnerable,
Yes.
right? Like, and being vulnerable is a very good thing. It sucks. It doesn't feel good. There's shame is just like flowing out of vulnerability. If things don't, if you fall on your face, the one really good, not metaphor, but kind of metaphor that Brene Brown talks about is just entering the arena, right?
Mm.
Which is entering the arena is that vulnerability. When you're like, I don't want to do that. Really good example of this is I had to make a really uncomfortable phone call because we were told that this project was going to be aligned with the why and we didn't have to pay for anything.
Right.
And then when it showed up, was given this contract where there was like annual fees. So I had to like call this really positive company that was doing really good things and ask them like what, because it seemed shady, right?
Right.
And I really didn't want to do it. But instead of saying, oh, I'll call them later and then I'll call them tomorrow and oh, it's Friday, I'll call them Monday. Nobody wants a
Yeah.
phone call on Monday.
Yeah, that's
I'll
when the
call them
procrastination
later,
kicks
right?
in.
Yeah,
Procrastination
well, because
and
we
fear.
don't want to have that vulnerable conversation.
Yeah.
But you got to enter the arena and go, okay, like let's do this and lean into it. And I really feel like it's like a reflex. Joe Rogan talks about this a little bit when it comes to discipline.
Yep.
And I feel like being vulnerable and like being willing to fall on your face in the arena and feel that shame
Mhm.
is you can train it like a muscle, right? Like a reflex, because I have been working on this and I have just been having tough conversations with staff and making myself do things that I don't necessarily want to do. So when I had to make that phone call, I just made it right away.
Yeah.
And I just
Well, there you
leaned
go.
into it. And I said, you know
That
what?
feels
I'm
so
not going to
good.
shy away from this awkward conversation. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to take this as a learning opportunity. And yeah, I might fuck it up, but that's how I'm going to learn and that's how I'm going to grow. And if I do fuck it up,
Yeah.
I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to take accountability for what I did. And that's the biggest thing, is switching from blame to accountability. And I think that's where a lot of people have struggled making the jump.
I have two things to say about this last monologue that you have expertly crafted and thrown out there on the fly. The first thing is, I'm impressed with you in how you use the correct pluralism of back and forth, which is backs and forth, which expert. It's like, you don't say, it's sons of bitches, right? Backs and forth instead of backs and forths. Well done. That's the first one. The second one is, you're talking about vulnerability, and I want to go the opposite for a second. Vulnerability, to me, many times, like when you're vulnerable and then there's shame there, okay, that creates a horrible feeling, and I think we've all felt that to a degree. If you are one of those people that takes that and aims it at people, please, for fuck's sake, stop doing that. It doesn't help our society in any way, shape, or form. Figure out what your stuff is, get satisfied with your life, and don't care about what other people do. That's just my little opinion for the day. But
tell that to Romania.
Oh yeah, Romania. Stop making me feel bad about the lettuce I eat. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even, that doesn't even make sense, except for Romaine and Romania. Anyway, there's the opposite though. Like, you feel terrible when vulnerability and shame show up. But imagine those times in your life. Remember those times in your life where you are completely vulnerable. You're completely open. You are 100% you, ready to receive in a pure form without any emotion, ready to give in a pure form with any emotion, whether it's in a dialogue, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in an act with someone that you love, whatever that is, those times where you're vulnerable and completely open. And not only is there not shame present, but 100% acceptance is present. How good is that feeling?
Yeah.
Being able to be vulnerable completely with all defenses down, and yet without 100% knowing that you are accepted and not judged. How good does that feel?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, because that's the whole other side of this. And that's the reason why you have to show up at the arena.
Yeah.
Because if you don't show up, you're never going to have those moments. It's all about those moments.
Those are great moments.
Why we're discussing this is because there are going to be moments when you fall on your face, and you have to know that, and you have to be ready for it. And you have to be willing to just accept that, and just know that sometimes you're going to feel ashamed of certain things that you do.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think this is a big reason why people always ask me all the time, oh, if you're so beat up and you're injured all the time, why do you keep wrestling? And I think a big reason is because exactly what you're talking about. You're so vulnerable as any performer, whether you're a stand-up, whether you're a singer, whether you're a pro wrestler. I go out in little tiny shorts, shake my ass on a pole, and
then you take those shorts off to reveal an even smaller pair of shorts.
Smaller pair of shorts, like a Russian doll. And sometimes it doesn't go the way I want it to go. And I don't feel as much shame as I used to, because I've trained that reflex.
Yeah.
But
you used to be very hard on yourself.
Oh, weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yeah,
it used to bother
really
me. That's
hard
why
on
I quit.
yourself.
I quit 2 years in. I had so much shame built up from having bad matches. I quit for 6 months because I thought I was terrible. I was a champion at the time.
These are the things that make you an adult, by the way.
Totally.
Because when you're an
100%.
18-year-old kid, you're like, screw this. I quit. I'm done, or whatever. Now you're an adult and going, okay, I recognize that behavior, why I did that. Yeah. And next time I choose to do this.
Yeah. And
although you wrestled very well on Friday. I don't know if you wrestled.
I kind of killed it this whole weekend.
Yeah, you did really well.
I don't say that. I'm trying really hard to be more positive about myself, and I feel like I did really well this week.
Friday. Okay, here's another example of knowing when you're an adult. Maybe look for the clues this week. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who don't
Deanna's
feel.
joined us.
Yo, Deanna. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of people on my side on the watch party join. Hey, everybody. I'm sorry. If we had a producer, if we had a young Jamie, we'd be going back and forth with some of these comments and all that.
Ooh, on that note, Holder, you're going to say, if anybody wants to be our producer for the World of Grey podcast, you would help promote it, help get it out there. We eventually do want to make money at this. You will be a 1/3 partner for the World of Grey. 1/3. 1/3.
1/3.
I'm saying it out there right now, right? Anything we were to give ourselves, you get 1/3.
1/3.
Complete it. It's like a co-op around here.
It's true.
It's a co-op.
Yep.
I'm all about equality. If anyone
Totally
wants to
true.
hop on, if we make no money, you make no money. If we make a bunch of money, you make just as much as us.
There you go. There you
Message
go.
me. World
If
Array
you're that
Podcast.
person,
If you're that person,
are you a Patreon expert?
Yeah, help us out. The
If you're
more
a
money you
Patreon
make
expert,
us,
there's a
the
good
more
chance
money
you're not
you
watching
make
this. You're
you.
watching like who someone else is
And
on
we're gonna
Patreon.
get a bigger studio, and we're gonna
Hey,
evolve.
by the
this
way,
thing.
a whole bunch of that just fell into place this week. The studio.
Florence Hill said, "Hey guys."
Yo, Flo. The
good.
studio was what?
That's good.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Just wrecked it right there, but that's okay.
That's okay. I know, that's good.
That's okay. Next
I was
time
happy.
it'll work.
I was excited.
Yeah, so we built a studio in our house. The technical equipment is not there yet, but it is coming. And I will tell you this: there's a black brick wall.
Woo!
There's also a weathered fireplace. Just telling you. And there
Nothing to
may
be
or may
ashamed
not
about
be
there.
there may or may not be a neon light on the wall coming soon. So, podcast studio in Casa de Chisholm is being built right now.
Mike Chisholm, what's the? I have a couple like fun little thought process here. What is the last time you felt shame because of
This
something
morning.
you did?
This
Oh,
morning.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Tell
totally
us
this
about
morning.
it.
I'm not going to get too specific into it, but sometimes
Performance issues.
No.
okay, good.
I have felt that though. I've felt performance
Yeah,
issues before.
Me too, totally.
Yeah, man. Like, hey, man. Hey, to all the ladies and some of the other men out there, although the men will probably understand this a little bit better. Sometimes when things happen in our heads, things happen in other places too. I'm just saying,
don't happen
or don't
in other
happen, as
places.
the case may be.
Never to me, but
Never. Well,
I've had other issues, but that's not one of them.
all right. But that being said, yeah, no. There are times where I am in my own little world, and I feel like my own little world is the truth. Because our perceptions are our reality, right?
100%.
I even talked about that this morning a little bit. Our perceptions are our reality, and sometimes my reality is one that is askew from where actual reality is. And if I behave that way for a certain amount of time, I'll get called out on how I behave that way, and then suddenly I will feel shame for how I behaved. Now, what I'm striving to try and learn how to do is accept that, not let it destroy momentum that I have, and just try and move on from it. And the other thing too that is very, very, very important with that is when you're ashamed for something and you've taken ownership for it and you've thrown out there olive branches or amends, whatever that may look like for your situation, and that person doesn't accept it, I'm just telling you right now, and not just me, a whole bunch of people that are way smarter than me, you now have permission to let that shame go.
Totally.
You have permission to say, you know what? Okay, yes, but acknowledgement, retribution or restitution, and now it's time for you to kind of put that in there, whoever they are. If they try and keep shaming you for the same thing that you've done over and over again, that's on you to release that and let it go and realize that that person is just trying to control you. So you can forgive yourself after you've gone through that and you've recognized it and whatnot. Forgive yourself and move on and be the best you can be.
So what you're saying is if you accept accountability for your actions, do your best to correct the wrong, and if there's an individual involved, still continues to shame you just because it maybe makes them feel better about themselves.
Well, some people will lord that over people for years and years and years.
Yeah. And some people they don't try to be empathetic to what you're trying to say or do, and they literally kick you while you're down. That's the best way to describe it.
Yes.
Because you're being vulnerable, and they're like sweet, and they want to pick on someone being vulnerable, and that's 100%. such like a sociopathic thing 100%. To do. Like if someone's being that open and vulnerable and just like, yeah, like I'm sorry, and then you're like, yeah, you should be sorry because blah blah blah. I've had that happen to me. Like I was like, okay, I'm really sorry. Yeah, you know what's really annoying? And then they just kept going off on me. I'm like, whoa. And I'm gonna be honest, and this is like, I'm not gonna say like where the setting is, but to your point, that was where I went, all right, well, that you just defined our relationship. Yeah. And it became one-word answers to things. And you know what? Like I'll be professional or whatever.
But
like,
you're not gonna be their doorman.
But I'm not gonna I'm just not gonna be overly. I am
power.
a very friendly person, and I want to like make everyone feel like I appreciate everything they do and blah blah blah. And I put extra effort into like emails and whatever.
Yeah,
but
you put thought into it.
If I'm
when
gonna
you
try,
you cook with love.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Another, I got a lot out of this Brene Brown book, and I don't necessarily agree with like absolutely everything she says, but a lot of the way she words things are just amazing. And one is we have to, even if it's not true, you have to be You have to work in the assumption that everyone around you that's working with you is doing the best they can with the tools they have.
Yes.
Even if that's not true, if you go in with that mentality, you are going to have such a more positive solution-based approach to everything you're doing. And when people don't give me that courtesy, because that I am doing the best I can with the tools I have, and I make mistakes and I miss things and I apologize and I try to do better.
Yes.
But when I am being vulnerable and saying like, okay, I'm sorry, I understand why that's frustrating and I'll try to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then you just shit on me and make me feel shameful when I already probably feel some shame about it anyways.
Absolutely.
And then I get all paranoid and like, you know, and then I overdo things. Like I go the other way and then I'm like, hey, did I already do this? Then I'm like questioning myself. And then that's probably more annoying for the person that I'm, you know what I mean? I'm asking
100%.
them the same question.
Yeah, it's
like
a cycle.
times.
It's a cycle that is not moving anybody forward at that point, other than them for their satisfaction, perhaps. But that doesn't give anything good to the greater good. It doesn't give any momentum for the greater good. But yeah, no. So shame. When it comes to shame, I think like any emotion, it is a healthy emotion. It's there for a reason. However, it can be grossly misused. And our society, unfortunately, especially with social media, that is the thing with social media. I think we need to find a way to be a lot kinder on social media and to stop using psychological weapons like shame as tools as we interact with each other, because it's not furthering us as a species anytime soon.
The issue I have with just that like statement is I think there's two versions of this, right?
Okay.
There's the accidental, instinctual, I'm just going to revert and blame somebody else instead of taking accountability. And then there's what you just said, which is like the purposeful using this as a tool to either spread misinformation or confuse people or like, you know, redirect a narrative is another good example, right? Like when Trump just blames somebody else or like says somebody else is bad so that you forget all the bad shit there. I really don't think
gaslighting.
I just don't think that it's easy for us to be like, stop doing that. Because it's effective and they're doing it for a person. Like I think what we need to focus on is the individuals that don't understand they're doing it. Like, like anyone watching this, try to check in. This is hard. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you're not going to do this perfectly overnight. Like, I know we talk all this like shit all the time about, oh, I've been working really hard at being self-reflective. It's not like I go around 24/7 and I'm this perfect little angel going, oh, sorry if I offended you and blah, 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 blah. I say stupid shit.
Yeah, I say
all
stupid shit
the time.
Too. Me too.
I say shit without thinking all the time. I say shit without thinking, and people get defensive, and I get defensive back right away.
Yep, me too.
That being said, a lot of times now, even if it's later, even if I have to send it, like I told that story about the CEO, like you sent the email to the CEO later, and she was fine with it.
Yep.
But it's sometimes you literally have to check in with people's emotion. I had two staff that were joking around with each other and like kind of making fun of each other, but they're like friends. But from an outside perspective, I was like, so I talked to one of them and they were like, oh, no. We're just like, they're just buddies, right? And that's fine.
Oh,
like me and Kyle razz each other all the time, right?
Yeah, people fuck around. And there's a difference between fucking around, though, and actually like delving into somebody like a termite into their emotion soul and hurting them.
But not a bad practice to check in once in a while, right? Like, are you okay with some of the things we're saying? Or I mean, it depends. Obviously, it depends on the relationship. But sometimes we have to actually check in with people and how they feel about any given situation.
What did Cece say on that?
She says the most destructive shame is the one we have for ourselves that is deep-seated and rooted in belief systems.
Yeah. I talk about subconscious pathways. That's a great point. These are subconscious pathways that we've built behind the scenes that are just doing business,
and they're
all
passed
the time.
A lot of time they're passed on to us by our parents, right?
Yeah.
And then parents pass it on to their kids and they don't even realize that they're doing it. But that's what it is. It's the I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. Like as soon as you do one little thing wrong, why you're so stupid. It's so easy. We all do it. Oh, you're so stupid. The crazy thing though is to tie it into what we're talking about. You can, in the same thought process, I'm so stupid, quickly blame this person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Deflect.
You deep down may feel that, but survival wise, you don't want it to affect your like survival. Like you're scared. Like we talked about the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm in trouble and I admit to it, then I'm going to get fired. Then I'm going to lose my job. Like I'm not going to have a job. Then I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. Then I'm going to be homeless. Then I'm going to starve to death.
Yeah.
Right? Like we do that all in one thought
Create
without,
realities
without
that
thinking.
do not exist, and shame is a really big
Yeah.
ingredient for doing that. Yeah.
So I think to Candace's point, like self-love, and I'm terrible at this. This is why I'm saying like, oh yeah, I did do really well this weekend because
Yeah,
I'm trying
you did.
really
You killed
hard
it
to
on Friday.
be
Anyway,
a little
I
bit
didn't
more
see you
positive
yesterday,
to
but-
myself. It is the most corrosive and the hardest. It's corrosive to our self-esteem, and then that's what we project to others. If we could get that there, we would be a lot less shaming on. Oh, get to that there'd be a lot
Yeah.
less shaming. And
Feel good about yourself, and guess
Yeah.
what? You'll feel good about others,
Yeah,
and you'll spread that to others.
that's exactly it. And I think
It all starts with
the
you.
self-love is first, especially if you're a leader and you're trying to build this culture of not blaming and shaming. Well, then you have to stop blaming and shaming yourself for everything, because if you can't do that internally to yourself,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to project that to your team?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I struggle with is I always tell my team like, oh, you know, one mistake doesn't define you and we can't blame each other. And then I do something like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Like I say it out loud way too often. And like, I don't know what that's breeding. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
what,
that's
right?
that's not effective.
Yeah, like I don't say it,
dialogue
I don't say
outside
it
or
to
inside.
anyone else. I don't blame anyone else, but I'm saying it about myself, right? And I don't, and yeah, so I agree with Candace on this one. Very, very smart individual.
She is.
Whoever gets to be with her for the rest of her life is a very lucky person.
Yeah, it's a lucky person. Holy cow.
Lucky person.
They'll probably have to work hard to keep that happening every single day of their life.
Yep, every damn day.
Always try and solve that
But
puzzle.
you know what? Sometimes you'll mess it up and fall on your face.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just take accountability for your actions, and I'm sure she'll forgive you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
She's a very understanding individual.
Yes.
Jade Roberts has joined us.
Hey.
Jade, we're talking about blame and shame, bud.
Yeah, talking about blame and shame and how it's used. You know, it's shame is obviously shame was built for a reason. What do you think shame is built for? Is it so we can learn? Is it so we as humans can learn? Do you think that's what it is?
Think
It's a natural tool?
I think shame is part of the dopamine feedback loop, like the other end of the dopamine feedback loop, like the cortisol version, right? Because, and I say this a lot, and I know sometimes I repeat certain things, but I think there are certain, I always say parameters, but I don't have another word, but there's certain like points of life that are kind of universal to a bunch of different things.
Okay.
And our feedback system of just knowing what we're doing is either contributing or right, or it's a survival thing, right?
Sure.
We have to do something to ensure our survival. And because we're a society, I wasn't going to the other show.
I was like, oh, what?
Because we're a society has to contribute. So we have to know that what we're doing is contributing properly.
Yes.
Well, in the surface level of it, it's making sure that we're not going to get fired.
Right.
Really, right? Like we're not going to get in trouble. We're not going to get fired.
Right.
So when we do things, and we need feedback, because we need to get the feedback of either right or wrong.
Yes.
Right. Dopamine. Boom. Hey, I did something right. And that builds a pathway. Look at me go.
Here's a
I'm
candy.
happy. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good one. Peter Joseph is a really good example. He says, we're all just pulling a lever and taking our treats.
Yeah.
We're all just pulling a lever and taking our treats, not understanding that lever is running a train off the fucking mountain. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a different thing. That's talking about distractions or like that. But we have this system. I feel like shame is the other end. When we do something wrong, it's so we can internalize, right?
Right.
However, there's so many layers to it, right? So we have to go, oh, okay, I did something wrong. Oh, okay, I did something wrong, right? I did something. What did I do wrong? I need to talk to this. Okay, what did I do? We need more feedback, right? Then we learn from that. It's just what we're talking about. There's these armors and other layers that get that convoluted and start to shield you up. And when you build that pathway, instead of a pathway of, oh, I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Let me get some more feedback. Okay, I did that. I've grown. Boom. Right?
Yes.
Right? And then the dopamine, oh, I did something right. I'm happy. I enjoyed that. Maybe when we celebrate what we do, right?
100%.
Those are all pathways. Those are all positive pathways on both ends of the spectrum. However, you can build the pathway of blaming other people, of armoring up, of putting that shield on, that blanket of it's not me, it's everybody else. And that's your reflex.
Yep.
And I have talked to so many fucking people that are like this, right? And as soon as you do anything, oh yeah, well, you too.
Yeah.
I've been in relationships like this. As soon as you say, well, you do that too.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's right. And maybe I didn't have the skills to go, okay, yeah, let's talk about that then.
Yep.
Right. Because I'm sure I just went blah, 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 blah. And we just went back and forth.
Oh man, one thing that annoys people in my life, sometimes I can recognize this and can and it works to varying degrees, although it's the truth. I'll be going through something with somebody and they will go, It's happened to somebody at the office actually this week. You talked about shame within my office and things like that in my working environment, and this happened this week, where it's like, okay, I need to talk to this person about something. I'm talking to them about it. We're going through it, and immediately the defenses all come up, and they throw out, bam, this explosive, this bombshell, and it's like, and I said to them, okay, if you want to talk about that, you've got an issue here. Clearly, you've got an issue. I'm not sure why you didn't come to me with that issue before. But if you want to talk about this issue, we'll talk about it. But we're talking about my issue now. That's why I summoned you here. That's why we're having this conversation. We're talking about this issue. So we're gonna keep talking about this issue, and you can take that issue, and it makes people mad sometimes. Like sometimes it really makes them mad because I'm calling them on that. But at the end of the day, so many times, and that's kind of what gaslighting is. You're throwing up a smoke screen, or you're throwing up dust into the situation when people don't want to deal with it. But again, that's where empathy comes in. If you can recognize somebody for wanting to throw up dust or whatever, and you can have that empathy, you can assume they're being the best of them they can be. Clearly, they're not somebody in this situation where they're ready to face that shame, or they're not ready to be vulnerable until you tell them it's a safe place and it's okay, it's going to be all right. Then you can be that adult, and you can have that level of empathy for them, imagining that they're being the best of them they can be, and you can move on.
Jade said something really interesting here, saying shame is a choice. You cannot inflict shame. So Jade, I want you to elaborate on that a little bit. And I do agree. I understand the premise.
It's the weapon that we were talking about earlier. People can use it as a weapon, right? But shame is more than that. But like what he's saying though, it's totally true. You can make the choice to light the match and throw it down and make it go poof on that person. That's a choice. Absolutely. Think about the first time you were ashamed.
The first time I was ashamed?
Can you think about the earliest memory of shame for you?
No, not even maybe.
I can.
You can remember the first time you ever felt shame?
2 years old.
You have memories when you were 2 years old?
So many.
I can't even remember yesterday.
So many. And the reason I know it's because, okay, so my parents still live in the same house I grew up in.
Beautiful.
Moved to that house when I was 3 years old. Okay.
So 1 year after you got memories.
So I have so many memories of the old house. And that's before 3.
I don't remember what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I have memories but I actually have memories before I was 2, but when I was, and I'm only guesstimating, I have to ask my mom, but when I would fill my pants, especially when I shit my pants when I was a kid and shit my diaper, I'd run in the closet.
I'd
run in the closet.
You're ashamed that you pooped your diaper.
Or I was about to, and I want my own little privacy. It goes on to this day, actually. Feel like Paul Rudd and This Is 40. It's like you spend time in the bathroom. That just happens sometimes. That's the alone time. Maybe that was the earliest version of that. But no, I do remember when I was a little kid, though. It's like, oh, I'm about to shit my pants. I don't know what to do. And I'd run to the closet and do it.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I thought that's why you usually don't have memories of that age, because it's so terrible because you're just shitting yourself and crying all the time. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And my mom would come in the closet and she'd open the door and she'd like, Michael, come here.
And you just had a diaper on.
And I had a diaper on.
That's what they're for.
I know.
Don't worry about it, little Mikey.
But back then,
don't feel shame, little Mikey.
But I did. I felt shame.
And
so that's the first inkling or memory of shame that I have.
And I think if you can express these shame moments, or like how if it's just more if we can just express how we're feeling, right? And have a culture where there's the freedom to just feel how we're feeling, then we can all chat, and there's a lot of common ground, right? Mental health is a big one. Is the more if you suffer from mental health, now there's a very defined world of gray here, and you have to be careful not to be that person.
I love that. A very defined world of gray. That is that should be a t-shirt. Once followers show up and all this, a very defined world of gray.
I was gonna say like a fine line of it, but with mental health, like I think yes, we should talk about it, but you gotta be careful that you're not like using it to get sympathy, because like, you know what I mean? Like there is that line.
Okay, but that goes back to intent.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Okay, thank you for saying intent.
Yeah.
Watch your intent. However, that being said, if an example is, I do this with clients that suffer from anxiety, because I have since 2015 understood this now, right? Because I am now really suffering from really bad. Always had depression, but kind of ignored it and didn't worry about it, which caused a lot of this anxiety. And so now I really understand and am empathetic, not sympathetic. Those are two different things.
Very different things.
Very, very different things. Not just I
feel pity for you.
Poor you. Oh, you have anxiety? Poor you. Oh.
Okay, well, if someone's really feeling sympathy, they're not really sarcastic like that.
No, but that's just the person that does it. Oh, poor you. Because they don't care. That's my, you don't care.
Okay.
Poor you. empathy is like, I understand.
Yeah.
Like now I'm
Relating.
empathetic.
There's
like,
relation
yeah,
to
like,
it.
you have anxiety. I get it. And I always used to say like, oh, just come in and work out. And now I'm like, listen, I understand exercise.
That, but
isn't-
it helps.
Right. But the
But,
one thing
yeah.
I've noticed is the more I talk about it, the more others talk about it. And not just within my clients, but around me. And then you start to realize, wow, there's a lot of people that
That's-
have these same issues. And then that
Yes.
shame of feeling that way starts to
Bingo.
go down, right?
Bingo.
Because you start to realize that we're all just humans and we all have these same emotions and we all make mistakes and we're all just doing the best we can with the tools we have.
And here's the thing for all of our viewers out there who, by the way, we're so grateful for. We're totally grateful for. You know what? If you're going through something, somebody's gone through it. Don't think you're alone.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
Somebody has gone through it. Somebody is going through it at this very moment.
Yeah.
Somebody has also triumphed, by the way. Some
Yeah.
people have succumbed to it, which is too bad. You don't want to be one of those people.
Mhm.
Some people have triumphed over exactly the thing you're going through right now. They've
Yeah.
triumphed over it.
Yeah.
And so, use that as fuel for encouragement for decisions like, you know what, even though I don't feel like it, I am going to go work out because that'll release some good endorphins and that'll probably help me solve the problem moving forward. It's not going to be the Band-Aid for everything, but it'll help a little bit. It cleans the wound at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with somebody, read a good book. If it's meditation that you've into, if you've gone down that path, meditate, start talking about gratefulness, start talking about some of these things. And you know what? Somebody's gone through it. And when you know that somebody's gone through it, that right there, it's not exactly as good as empathy,
Mhm.
but it's along that path.
Yeah.
When you have somebody empathizing with you, that feels really good because it feels like somebody's in the hole with you.
Yeah.
But at least when you know that there are others that have gone through what you're going through and have
Yeah.
triumphed over it,
Yeah.
that can be a help too.
Yeah. And it is focusing on that empathy,
Mhm.
right? It is coming together instead of having us to be wider and wider apart. And, talking to individuals, talking to your friends, bringing us all together because we're all just living in a society divided by black and white arguments. And we are here to explore
The world of gray.
I am Columbus Cougar Meat Kid Colin Cutler.
I am the Flow, Mike Chisholm. Thank you so much for watching us again on this Sunday.
Peace.
Peace and love for you and yours. Peace and love for you and yours. The YouTube.